There it is! No! No! Why won't it stop? It's too much! No! No!
I hope you weigh the breakout, because today we're going Ape Out. This is a interesting title. When I first saw it, it immediately made me think of Hotline Miami, except you're an ape. And it's a lot simpler, really, in mechanics, but it's also interesting how they were able to keep it very refreshing as you go through the game with new mechanics at the same time, even though it's simple at the beginning. So, unlike Jack in Hotline Miami, you have really only two things at your disposal. Push, grab. These are your only two things your ape can do. But the way everything gets unique is how you interact with the things that you encounter, mainly your enemies. While Jack can dispose of someone and grab different types of guns and weapons and toss them and get different melee weapons, you're limited to your fists and whatever your opponents have in Ape Out. By grabbing an opponent, you can aim them for one shot of whatever weapon they wield into the direction you're aiming. And this is how you can use guns in Ape Out. So unlike Jacket, you can't just go through a string of a bazillion guns really quick and blaze through the enemy trail. But don't get this wrong though, the game does encourage you to go fast and furious through the stage. And if you die, well, you'll get this cool zoom out of your path through the map. And the map is ever changing, but yet ever similar to a theme. So, in general, there are 5, I guess you could refer to them as acts, but the game refers to 4 of them as a disc, and the last one is just its own entity. But I'm going to refer to them as acts, because each one kind of has its own little story and setting, and each one keeps introducing newer mechanics to the system, whether it be enemy types, certain environmental things that can either hinder or help you, or be both. Scenarios like power outages, fires, attacks, snipers. You're ever thrown many different situations for a game that only presents you 2 real ways to interact with the world. And honestly, I consider it very creative. Now the game, Artistic, is very simple. The ape is orange, enemies are very simple looking, and the environments are very odd. They have like this kind of wobbly, kind of, I'm not sure how to say, like a brush shading kind of thing that goes over the environment stuff and wiggles around. There was an option to like mess with that, which is probably for people who may suffer from like getting kind of seasickish from seeing too much wobble, I guess that could say. And I'm not sure what the technical term it evades me right now. But it has a very simple but very nice art style that works for it. Being that you're an animal, I think it kind of works out too, because unlike Jacket, who's, you know, a person, sees a lot more of the detail of the world, you're just a wild animal from the jungle who, depending on which story we're referring to, has been put into various situations. The music's really fitting with it. While it's not necessarily going to be the kind of thing you probably ball into a desk and listen down on a country road trip, it gets the job done. It gets your blood pumping and it gets you going through most of the stages. It feels fitting most of the time, and the game being a bloody mess for very simplistic look. Now, as your ape killer, you do have a little bit of a health system, but it's not perfect. While you can sometimes survive some hits, you can also be critically mortal than one hit too with various things. So don't always assume you're gonna survive a hit, because you can die horrifically just like that too. I love how the game introduces all these elements over time. It kind of reminds me of how Catherine was introducing the new blocks in the nightmare segments almost all the way to the fucking end of the game. I really like that with it. Now, once you complete the game, you will unlock hard and arcade mode. Arcade mode's an interesting kind of speedrun thing, where you basically get a allotted time, and the faster you go through the stage, you can carry over time into the next portion of the stage, and get bonus points for kills, chains, and effectively going through the stage and that. So it's this mode of keeping your time high and getting through the game. Hard just, well, makes the game harder, and supposedly makes the stages longer too, from what I understand of them. But I didn't really mess with hard mode much. Admittedly, Ape Out is not a super long game, and while it definitely is the kind of game where it's simple to like play, but it's hard to master as you get involved with newer types of enemies and environmental hazards that you have to deal with and be cautious of. Certain things continue throughout the game, while other things sometimes are just a one-time deal, and you might never see that particular element ever again through the rest of the game. So, failing on certain things, they may continuously be problems in the future, or they just may have been for that particular scenario or that portion of the stage. Story-wise, each of the 4 discs, the acts, each have their own story, capping off with one final story where it's kind of a ironic twist on what you've been doing the whole time. I'll leave that for the spoiler section, even though it's not that big of a thing, but it is something you get after you beat the 4 discs, as it refers to them, like I said. But they'll, I prefer, I think it's just kind of confusing calling them discs. It's like X, man, X. Anyway, it's not a super long game. You can get it done in about 3-5 hours, maybe up to 8 hours, depending on your skill level with this. I know the last stage took me, I think I spent like about 3 hours just trying to beat the very final stage. It's a bit of a doozy, man. Bit of a doozy. Honestly though, it was a very enjoyable game, and being on the Switch, it's a perfect game for on the go. Now, if you get the game digitally, you can get it on PC as well as on your Switch digitally for $14.99. And if you want a physical copy, which was only available on Switch, which is, as far as I know, the only console it's even on, you can no longer get brand new copies, but they go for about like 30 to 40 bucks online, which isn't too terrible considering some of these limited games, you know, go pretty up there. So that's still not a horrible price, but considering it is a shorter title, it's going to be more subjective whether you really want that physical title or just get it on GOG, because I mean, it's on GOG. What would I recommend as a price for the game, though? Personally, I feel okay giving this a $20 range, to be honest. And because the digital price goes for $14.99, that means I actually think it's worth a bit more than what it goes for. I think it has a decent amount of replay, fun, and action to go with it. And it's definitely a nice thing to have on your Switch for portability if you happen to be able to take advantage of car trips and such. Well, it is a bit of a shorter title if you're going in it through a story-wise. It offers a number of replay value to kill some time. once you're done with the story. And quickly to go over spoilers. Now, the game doesn't really make it clear if like all the apes are the same ape or all different apes. It's kinda not really telling on that, but the final 5th story is called Break In. You spend all this time breaking out of things, it's time to break in. And this is a very interesting stage, because at first it might not seem like there's any unique mechanic in this stage that you haven't seen in any other stage. Many of the enemies and everything are all things you've seen before. But what's interesting about it is it's a really long single level, because you have to also break out. What's interesting about the stage is you're breaking in to get your child, and then you have to break out again with your child. So you have to double back in the stage again, and you have to go through many of the things that you either ran past or have to beware of. And I like the idea of the stage, because if you're like me and you're very defensive, like you kill most of the shit, you will have a easier time for probably 50% of the stage backtracking. But they're all specific segments that will design to ensure there will be enemies on your way out, plus with one final coup de grace right at the exits. Careful on your way out. Overall, I had fun with Ape Out. It's a quick, short little story. It's a quick little title, and it's great for replay and car trips. I can't say any real bad with it. I didn't really experience anything bad except for one bizarre thing that happened when I first started the game. For some reason, it just sat like in limbo loading. And when I went to the Switch menu and then went back to the game, it brought up the menu to like restart the level. And restarting the level fixed it. It never happened again throughout the game, so I don't know if it was just some random bug or something. I'm not quite sure what the hell happened with it. But other than that, I didn't experience any bugs or other issues with the game. It ran fine. I didn't have anything that prevented me from finishing the game. Excellent release from Special Resolve Games. Don't have any complaints about it. It was very nice and I enjoyed it. Though I would prefer it on the PS4, but as far as I know, it's not on the PS4, so I guess I can't complain on that one if you watched one of my newer videos on the main channel. At the end of the day, it's a quick little title that I can definitely recommend if you especially liked Hotline Miami. It's a bit of a different twist on the idea, but I can say you likely can see some similarities as well. So if you really like Hotline Miami, I definitely can recommend Ape Out. It doesn't have as much of an insane story as Hotline Miami, but if you like that strategic, running through stages, killing everything, you're gonna have fun. Why you? Anyway though, shorter review today for a pretty simple title. And until next time, I'll see you in the jungle. The And if you feel like you learned anything interesting, feel free to leave a like. And if you feel like you didn't learn anything at all, feel free to leave a dislike. Feel free.